I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's watched this series so far. We have just half the season left of my senior year, and of course my goal is to make the national championship game. Sit back, relax, and get ready for the most important 6-game stretch of my career at Louisville. I started off my game against South Florida reminding them who the top dog in the conference was. We've had issues playing USF in the past, but those problems are going to stay in the past this year. As my former teammate Marshawn Ford once said, just put it on tape, and that's exactly what I did, displaying the accuracy and touch I developed over my last 4 years in college. To end the first, I escaped right and hit my number one wideout, Rich Crawford, who pulled it in past midfield. The USF defense held strong though. Once we got past the 15, admittedly I threw a dangerous pass that could have been a pick 6. Our kicker ended up missing the field goal. We started our next drive from the 5, and coach was conservative with the play calls, running it a few times with no success from Maurice Turner. South Florida was sitting in man coverage, so I thought I might as well make them pay with my legs. I sent my receivers deep and I ran it up the field to keep the chains moving. USF didn't want to play zone against us because they knew I would obliterate it, but they also were learning that they couldn't play man against me either because I'd run circles around their front 7. Ever since Tamarcus Simpson had been drafted, I didn't really have to worry about any ball-hawking athletic box safeties out of USF either. When we got down to the red zone, our offense tightened up real quick. They had the defense staring at me whether they were in man or zone, ready to leave their assignment if I tried scrambling, so I needed my receivers to make plays for me. Carson Gay got clamped on 2 straight plays, and given the reads I was making pre-snap, I didn't have a great option for a throw. Rich Crawford wasn't getting isolation looks like I told coach that I wanted. We ended up settling for a field goal before half, and we were tied with USF in the third. I ran downfield, which was our only form of offense that seemed to be working when we could operate in space. I took us past the 50, and I still struggled with sliding it or going out of bounds, taking some unnecessary hits. The very next play, I made up for it though, finding my tight end, Gay, wide open for the touchdown. Gay and Wiggins were seemingly the only dudes who could get open. Anytime I looked for Bell or Crawford, they were blanketed in the second half. I kept hitting Gay, but eventually I tried my luck on the outside with a one-on-one ball, and USF's defense picked me off. Thank the Lord for our defense though, they were beating the brakes off the USF offense, series after series. TJ Quinn and Cameron Wilson, our 2 All-American linebackers, were killing it as usual. Like I preached though, and like I mentioned earlier, sometimes I gotta slide, and I paid the price on this possession trying to pick up the first down. We've been lacking some creativity in the red zone this game, but coach drew up a great triple option play that I pitched out to Elijah Downing for the easy conversion. We followed that up the next play with a scramble by me, again, gotta get down before getting hit, and then I found Chris Bell, who'd been having a tough game for the touchdown, to take a 2-score lead. After that, seemingly everything opened up offensively. The following drive, I found Rich Crawford on the outside, who beat his man one-on-one for the touchdown, and we rolled to the win. It was tied at half, but we responded well to the pressure playing at home. Again, everyone was bought in, and nobody had any doubt we would win against anybody we played. I had another standard performance for me this season, putting up 250 passing yards and 180 rushing yards on the way to the win with 4 total touchdowns. Our next game was marked on my calendar ever since last year. If you'll remember, last year we lost in a shootout to SMU and Preston Stone. Stone was garnering significant draft hype, and he had a near-perfect performance against us last year. I know the D wanted some revenge, and so did I, since that was our first loss of the season at that point. I also felt slighted because Stone was projected higher than me in the draft, and it was time to put on a complete display for any NFL scout that might be in the audience. After finishing the first half of the season undefeated, our head coach put together a team dinner to celebrate what we had accomplished at this point, but also to remind us not to lose focus. We couldn't discount a team, a player, or a coach if we wanted to stay undefeated. Al-J Henderson came to our game against SMU to support. I hadn't seen him since leaving Buffalo after my freshman year. He wanted to congratulate me on what I'd accomplished with the Louisville team. He said he was surprised to see how I'd turned out individually as a player and as a person after a terrible year at Buffalo that nearly led me to quit playing altogether. LJ went on to say that his team, the Cardinals, were considering drafting me, but he said that they might want to play me at wide receiver or as a running back. I told LJ respectfully that I was only interested in quarterback, and he was a way better running back than me. Also, at this point in the season, I had begun speaking with an agent about the draft. My agent advised me that I should consider switching positions. He said that there were several players in the past who had converted from quarterback to have success in the league, like Julian Edelman, Logan Thomas, etc. He told me that I should look at Fields. He said Fields would be better off as a running back, and I told my agent that if he floated that idea of playing a different position again, that he'd have to find someone else to represent, because I was having my best season at quarterback yet, and I was competing for the Heisman and a college football playoff berth. Getting back to the game at hand, of course the win was the most important thing, but I also wanted to outclass Stone as a passer. Last year we both had near flawless performances, but this year I had been preparing all season for decisively winning this game at SMU. We found some some wiggle room with a 4-point lead, driving the ball down to SMU's 20. I found Crawford for the first down pickup, and then SMU's defense walled up at the goal line. They were playing heavy contain and drop back coverage, and I forced a ball into a tight window and it got intercepted for the second pick of the game by me. I was furious with myself on the sideline. I couldn't believe I had talked all year about this game, and I was actively hurting my team. I mentally decided not to worry anymore about the SMU's offense and instead completely paid attention to trying to trust my teammates. That turned out to be the turning point in the game as the defense stepped up and got a huge stop, and we drove the ball down and took an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. The game was far from over though. SMU scored a touchdown and we got the ball back with 2 minutes left. I knew if we ran Turner, we would be punting it away early, so I told coach that I'm going to go all out passing, treating this drive like any other, and SMU is going to have to guard the whole field and not just a run up the middle. He signed off on the idea and it paid dividends. We ended up scoring a touchdown. SMU answered back once again, but they couldn't get the onside kick, and we ran the clock out and took the win 35-30. It was definitely closer than I'd hoped against a 4-3 team, but we got revenge for last season, and aside from the 2 picks, I had a solid game, passing for over 300 yards and running it for 100 along with 4 more touchdowns. As James Harden said once, I am a system. I moved up to the number 2 spot for the Heisman, and the close win did hurt our chances of rising up the top 25, and we ended up staying at the number 7 spot for our game against Temple. If you've been watching my career for a while, you'd know that Temple has beaten us when we were ranked in the past. It's like the committee lined up all of our toughest matchups over my first 2 years at Louisville and put them in back-to-back games for my senior season. I ended the first quarter getting baited into a dumb pick, trying to find my receiver on a post route, but luckily my defense bailed me out, holding them to 0 points after the turnover. For being a 2-6 bottom-tier D1 team, Temple always had a uniquely challenging defense for me. I felt like every ball I was throwing was in a tight window with defenders bracketing my receivers. My one big play was to Downing to get us in the red zone, and eventually I found my tight end, Gay, for the touchdown to take the lead. The defense was doing their job, consistently stonewalling Temple's offense, and now it was my turn to relieve some of the pressure for them. Gay was getting a lot of my targets lately. He was a mismatch for so many secondaries that it was surprising that he wasn't projected to be drafted, but Des Melton was last season. I felt like Gay was the second best tight end I had played with aside from Marshawn Ford. Right before the end of the first half, I made a ridiculous play, rolling to my left, turning around, setting my feet, and throwing a dime to Bell in the back of the end zone for my second touchdown. In the second half, we made quick work getting to Temple's red zone, only for me to get sacked on second down and then again on third down to put us outside of field goal range, killing a scoring drive. It was really easy to get frustrated with these types of plays because we knew that the College Football Playoff Committee was looking at every team through a microscope, trying to find any bad wins or weaknesses to remove a team from contending for the national championship. And being up 14-6 looked like a bad win, but coach calmed the team down. We got back into a rhythm offensively, running the ball. We ran an option that got big yards, and then we ran another that I kept for myself, and the blocks lined up perfectly as I weaved through traffic to take it 50 yards for the score. In the fourth and up 8 points, we needed a 3rd and 14 conversion to get back into field goal range, but the ball got tipped away and we had to punt. Temple responded with a touchdown, and all of a sudden ESPN was playing our game for a top 10 upset watch. We had the ball with 3 minutes left in the game, and I was asked to burn those final minutes like I did for the most part last game. I told coach again, let the offense play naturally. Let's not run it up the middle every play. I found Bell wide open in the zone defense, and he did the rest of the work, going down right at Temple's 1-yard line. Turner scored immediately, and Temple had no timeouts remaining. You can never count out the Temple Owls though. They made it a game, scoring another touchdown, but we got the ball back with a 2-point lead, and since Temple had no timeouts, we got another close call W. I got player of the game honors despite a below average game, and we were staring down the end of my college career.